Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Leambeau Leapers Live with Alex. You can find Alex on Instagram at lambeau.leapers. How's it going, Alex?
Things are good. I'm excited for this game. It's going to be a good one. Packers fans, I'm sure, are quite nervous after what we saw week 6 and, a blowout loss, a rare thing for the Packers this season. So everybody's nervous. Everybody's excited at the same time. But you'll hear why in a minute, why I think it's going to be a different ballgame.
Yeah, so, of course, Tampa Bay, clobbered you last time. How do you think
On one side of the field, that's going to definitely limit what they're trying to do on the Tampa Bay side of the ball.
Absolutely. And I want to focus in on one more matchup. Davante Adams didn't have the greatest of games against Tampa Bay the first time. Of course, the passing game struggled against the blitz. What do you think Adams, Lazard, Marquez Valdez-Scantling will do against these physical Tampa Bay corners, especially when Todd Bowles styles up blitzes?
Right, yeah. So with Adams, last time around, he was coming off that injury that had him sidelined for a few games. He came back, as early as he could, and you definitely saw that, he was still feeling a little bit of pain, and it was his first game back. A little bit, miscommunications and things like that we saw. Definitely one of his worst games of the year. I expect different. I think he's the hottest receiver in the league right now, and he's playing at such a high level. I just don't think Tampa Bay has that Jalen Ramsey type guy. I don't think Carlton Davis is going to be able to stop Davante Adams. So I think, they're going to go to Adams early. He's made a lot of crucial plays for us. We saw him make, 50-yard catch in Indianapolis to be able to put the Packers in position to get back and get another score and push it to overtime. That was such a clutch catch that he made, and it was just a really impressive play. Diving with 3 guys surrounded by him. So, the drops are it's not even a mental thing. Sometimes they just happen. And for him, they happen a little more often than a lot of other guys. But for the most part, I really think that, he can be a key contributor for us just because of his game-breaking speed. And he makes plays. He's a playmaker.
Absolutely. And speaking of playmakers, Davante Adams had an unbelievable season, 18 receiving touchdowns, tied for the third most ever.
Yep.
And you're talking Randy Moss and Jerry Rice. Those are the only 2 guys ahead of him. What kind of impact do you think Davante has today?
Yeah, I think he's going to be that number 1 guy for Rodgers, and I don't see a way that, Tampa Bay is going to be able to stop him. He's so dynamic. He can beat everybody in his path. Whoever's covering him, Davante has an advantage. I know they're going to be missing Antoine Winfield today. The rookie, and he's a great player in that secondary. Apparently his warm-up didn't go well, and it looks like he's not going to be able to play. But for me, he's obviously a key factor in what they're trying to do on defense as well, to even, possibly double Davante Adams in some ways. So I think Rodgers is going to have a good day, and I think it starts with what Davante Adams is able to do, and he's going to be that number 1 guy.
All right, we're going to take a question from the chat. It's from Nick Spano, my boy. Alex, do you think Godwin can be a difference maker for Tampa Bay? I trust Jair to lock up Evans, but Godwin could be the X factor. Who covers him?
Godwin, yeah. Well, he's been struggling with drops very, very much recently, and Jair is going to be on Evans, like you mentioned, Nick. He'll be that guy covering Evans, but can Kevin King do a decent job against Godwin if he plays? I don't know. That's a tough matchup for him. I would honestly prefer King to cover Mike Evans just because King is a much more physical corner, and he's able to probably get that length that Mike Evans thrives on, especially on those 50-50 balls. I think King could have some success there. So I doubt we'll see any one guy match up with either receiver, but I definitely think that if Godwin's in the slot, matching up with Chandon Sullivan, maybe some Tramon Williams, that's probably at a disadvantage for Green Bay.
Yeah, I can tell you firsthand, Tramon Williams is old.
Yeah, it's Ravens. Yeah, I'm excited to have him back. I think he'll be able to take some key snaps. He's very versatile. He could play safety, both safety spots. He could play in the middle of the field even, and also he could play in the boundary too. So I'm excited to have him as a piece that with a lot of experience, so much experience in this defense. He was with Mike Pettin in Cleveland. And also playing the couple of years that he was in Green Bay with Mike Pettin too. So I'm excited for him to be back and hopefully contribute right away.
All right. Speaking of contributions, we have another question from the chat from Frankie V. How important is Aaron Jones to the Packers winning today?
He's probably the most important aspect of what we're trying to do, apart from Aaron Rodgers, because if we don't get the running game going, that's when our offense becomes one-dimensional, and that's where things are going to fall apart for us. I just think Aaron Jones, he has to get going, and then they have to give him good looks in the passing game as well as the running game. Just need to get him the ball early and often, and then also obviously incorporate Jamal Williams and A.J. Dillon into the mix. And, it's going to be hard to stop. Even though Tampa Bay's run defense is supposedly that number one run defense in the NFL, this is a three-headed monster Green Bay has, and it's going to be a huge, huge part of why I think the Packers have a great chance to win.
Yeah, of course. Tampa Bay will get Vita Vea back, who is one of my favorite players in the NFL and one of the best run stoppers in the NFL. Of course, Ndamukong Suh, you've played against him in Detroit.
Right. Yep.
He's a beast. Shaq Barrett, JPP, they're solid run defenders. So I think it's important that Aaron Jones, Dillon, and Jamal get hot starts early, chunk plays. And, as cliche as it sounds, it's important to get, 3 yards in a cloud of dust sometimes, because that's better than 2 yards. That's better than losing yards. And I think that's one thing that Tampa Bay does so well is they just stop you at the line of scrimmage, gain of 1, gain of 0, loss of 1. And that's something that Tampa does extraordinarily well. And they also limit the big plays. And I know Aaron Jones had a huge run against the Rams last week. And that's something that, hey, if he breaks a run, that means 5 fewer attempts for Rodgers. That means Rodgers doesn't have to test Carlton Davis or test Jamel Dean or Bunting, who has an interception in the last 2 games, one of the, I think, 4 corners ever to do that. So, when Jones is rolling, when Williams is rolling, when Dillon is rolling, it makes life easier for everyone on the offense.
Definitely. And Mike 1625 says, just reported Kevin King will be active for today's game. That's huge for Green Bay to have him back after not having him in that Week 6 matchup. So it'll be key to have him in the fold to try to defend the litany of weapons that Tampa Bay has. And back to that running game, that's going to be huge. If Green Bay can run the ball, that's when the play action starts working. That's when they can open up some of those deeper shots even to get a chance to just really, score points. And they're going to have to do that against, like we keep talking about, how great this Tampa Bay offense can be. It's going to be hard to outscore Tom Brady, but if we're able to run the ball, it's going to make it a lot easier.
And I think one thing you touched on was the play action. And before this year, Aaron Rodgers had a hate relationship with play action. He never wanted to run play action. He always wanted to take a look at the field, have everything in place, and then process it and then go and play at an MVP level, play at an all-time great quarterback level. And now this year he's been, I want to say 22 passing touchdowns in play action situations. Yeah. And that's ridiculous. And I think that's a big, I don't want to say improvement, because I'm sure he could always run play action, but it's such a key, I think, a relationship between LaFleur and Rodgers as offensive guy and Rodgers. It's incredible to watch. And I mean, he may not have as high of pass rating as he did in 2011. They may not be 15-1, but hey, I think Aaron Rodgers is playing as well as he's ever played in his career right now.
No, that's exactly right. And I think, what Matt LaFleur is helping Aaron Rodgers do. What I always talk about is Matt LaFleur is the play caller, but he lets Aaron Rodgers be the shot caller. And by that, I mean, he gives Aaron Rodgers the chance to really do basically whatever he wants off of, maybe Matt LaFleur gives him a couple plays to choose from, or Matt LaFleur gives him a play call with options on whether he wants to check to a run, stick with a run, check to a pass. If he sees something, a lot of the times we see it mostly with Davante Adams, where, corners will be playing, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 yard, 10 yards off of Davante Adams. And Rodgers just says, well, if they're going to leave him open like that, I'm going to check to a pass and just throw it right to Davante Adams, right off the snap. And a lot of times that's how they get those short yardages that are really able to get them into manageable 2nd and 3rd downs. And that's why they've had so much success. It's really about marrying the pass with the run, getting just a couple key stops on defense, and just being able to have that offensive success. That's the recipe Green Bay has used to win all these games. And I think that's going to be the same recipe that they use today.
All right. So I was a big Packers hater last year. I thought they were fraudulent 13-3. I thought Seattle was going to come in and slap them. They beat Seattle. Credit to them. What do you think is the biggest difference between the 2019 13-3 Packers that are total frauds and the 2020 Packers that if they win the Super Bowl in 2 weeks, I'm not surprised?
Well, I wouldn't say they're total frauds. a 13-3 team, they get their wins. Of course, their offense wasn't as good as it is this year. I think their defense was playing better, and that's probably why you would consider them to be frauds, because Aaron Rodgers didn't have that same year that he's having now, that MVP season, and that's really what we expect of him. So I wouldn't say they're frauds. I'd say they were more defensive centric, having more success on that side of the ball, and that's what made the scores look a lot closer, especially against some teams that you might have thought they should have blown out. But this year, it's been a different style of play. It's been a different game plan, and it's been finding a different way to win, which has really been get ahead early, make teams try to have to throw the ball as opposed to running it on us, force them to be one-dimensional by getting up on them by a lot of points, and then that's how we win the game. We get ahead early, and then our defense can kind of pin its ears back and rush the passer, and then Aaron Rodgers can kind of just be that guy who is going to basically manage the game by using what Matt LaFleur's system brings, able to, just do what he wants, be methodical, and take time of possession and take as much of it as possible. And like I said, that's the recipe we're going to see today. That fell out the window when Aaron Rodgers threw those 2 picks in week 6. That really changed the game. We didn't have that lead anymore. That went away. It was 10-0 with the ball, and it turned into 14-10, just like that in a snap. So now I think we're going to see that same recipe, and I don't think we're going to see those same 2 picks that Rodgers threw back-to-back, and I think that's why we're going to win the game.
So I've done some research on Rodgers. I wrote an article about his abysmal game in Tampa, and it always seems like Tampa is the team he struggles with. If of all the teams in the NFL, it always seems that he has his struggles in Tampa, or even when the Bucs come up to Lambeau. And how can, do you think that affects Rodgers at all? Do you think he thinks about week 6, or one of his other pick sixes came against the Bucs in
yeah.
Tampa? Do you think that weighs on him and he has to have a chip on his shoulder today?
I definitely don't think so. He's internally motivated. The picks, he just doesn't do that. And this game is in Lambeau Field. It's a whole different ball game this time around. When was the last time you've seen Rodgers throw basically 2 back-to-back pick sixes? I mean, that's never happened before. Such an anomaly. He talks about it all the time, when he's asked about that game. He knows that it's not going to happen again. It's a complete anomaly. The first one was just one of those throws where Rodgers, he feels like he's getting pressured and he wants to get rid of the ball quick. He got rid of it too quick. It was a bad throw, bad read, shouldn't have thrown the ball, and then ended up being a pick 6. Next play, ball bounces right off Devontae's hands into Carlton Davis's hands. It was shocking to see that go down, but it's just not going to happen again. Rodgers throw a pick today? Possibly. Could he throw 2? Maybe, but I doubt it. He's got 5 on the year. It's possible. But, even if that does happen, it's going to be a different game. I think they're going to be able to have a lot more success on offense. The cold is going to get to Tampa Bay. It's going to be real. They're going to feel it, especially on defense. And I think that's going to be a huge advantage for Rodgers to have these fans at Lambeau, be able to do this hard count that he loves to do. It's going to be a better day for him on offense, and the whole offense as well is going to have more success, I think.
Absolutely. So we're going to go to another chat question from Nick Spano for you both. Bigger upset if it happens, Bills over Chiefs or Bucks over Packers? So you can go first.
I would just say I'm going to go with Buffalo just because Kansas City's the defending champions. But look, I'll be really shocked if Green Bay doesn't win this game today. So yeah, I think both would be a pretty big upset. I could see both happening, but I don't. Personally, I think the Buffalo thing could happen, but I just don't see Tampa Bay winning over Green Bay today. So really, I would be surprised. But that's a tough question. I mean, Green Bay, I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win by 10 points. I do. Tampa Bay is just it's not going to be ready for what Green Bay has, in response to what happened in week 6. Green Bay has all that tape that they've watched, the film of really Tampa Bay's best stuff. That's all on tape, and they're going to be prepared for it. And I don't see that they're going to change much. I expect them to come in hoping that same game plan as last time will work again. So for me, I just don't see Tampa Bay beating Green Bay.
Okay. See, I don't have the same, confidence, in Green Bay, but I do have the confidence in Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes could be in a wheelchair and be the best quarterback or second best quarterback behind Rodgers in football. And as much as I respect Buffalo and as well as they've played the last few weeks, and is Josh Allen, I had him number 2 in my quarterback rankings in the last few weeks. Kansas City doesn't lose this game. I've watched football long enough. This is a game that Kansas City doesn't lose. It doesn't happen. This is, the Jacksonville Patriots AFC title game. The Patriots win. It doesn't matter. so this is one of the games that I'm at a foregone conclusion. The Chiefs win. So by process of elimination, I think Tampa is more likely to upset Green Bay. Of course, we've seen it happen earlier in the season, and there's something about that Tampa Bay blitz with the physical corners when they play press. Could happen. I could talk myself into a Tampa Bay win. I don't think I can talk myself into a Buffalo win.
Yeah, I think, the only question with Kansas City is if Patrick Mahomes for some reason isn't 100%, we know he has that toe injury, that turf toe as well. It all depends on what he's able to do. If he's healthy and he's playing like normal Patrick Mahomes, they're probably going to win just because of what he brings to the table. And of course, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and everything they have going there. But if he finds himself to be hobbling even a little bit, and then the Buffalo Bills get up early, and the Chiefs defense just can't stop them, I could totally see that happening too. So I'm really not sure how either of these games are going to go, frankly. But I'm excited. It's going to be a great day of football. I'm really excited to watch both games. These are really if you ask me, these are the 4 best teams in the league right here, and I'm just really excited to watch it all go down today.
Yeah, I think in most of my power rankings, I would have some combination of these 4 teams, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I always had the Chiefs at 1, just because Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, and he's hurt my team enough that I'm going to have respect for that, I guess.
Definitely.
But, Bills have been 2 for a long time. Packers have been 2 or 3, alternating with the Bills. And Tampa has been, slowly rising up. They've been on fire the last few weeks. So someone who has been on fire is Tom Brady. So let's roll to Carl's question. What's the chance Tom Brady has a bad game today?
Probably small. I don't think he has a bad game. He's a great quarterback, and he's playing at a high level. But when you watch that Saints game last week, it's very noticeable that the only true success that the Bucs had on offense, by what I mean is scoring touchdowns, they really only were able to do that off turnovers. And if Green Bay is not getting those turnovers, we might not see that same production in the red zone and as many opportunities in the red zone as we saw in that Saints game. So I think Tom Brady's going to play well. He's not going to be the reason they lose. We could see a pick or 2 from him. I wouldn't be surprised. I just don't think he'll have a bad game for sure, though.
All right, so let's switch gears. We'll go to Henry. Who's the guy the Packers need production from in order to succeed today?
Probably, I think Aaron Jones is that number 1 guy. Of course, Aaron Rodgers, obviously, but I definitely think Aaron Jones is that guy who is going to need to get the ball early and often and have success, and that'll open everything up for the Packers offense.
All right, this isn't a question, but this is from Holden. Hey, what's up, man? Good game from the last week. Really admire LaFleur's game plan versus us, control time of possession, etc. Really wish Aaron Donald was healthy, but I look forward to our matchup next year. And if you had to give maybe a 3-word summary, how do you feel about the game against the Rams last week?
Rodgers played well enough to win. I just think Rodgers did his thing just well enough to win against a great defense. He did his job, and I think yes, the Rams are a great team, and I expect them to be in the mix next year as well.
Absolutely. Also, shout out to Frankie Splash. I missed the air conditioner effect from last show. Someone shut it off. I haven't turned it back on here in the conference room, but hey, it happens. I'm sure it's going to be colder at Lambeau than it is here in Arizona. So,
yeah.
All right. I'll go to Jack. This is the first week of football in my life that I've ever had literally no idea who to pick. I've gone back and forth on both games all week. So, Alex, give your pitch on why the Packers win today, and give your pitch on why the Chiefs win today.
Okay, so I think Green Bay is going to win by 10 points, and I'm pretty confident in that. Could we see less than 10? Could we see an overtime win? Maybe, but I think that this game is really set up for Green Bay to have a lot of success. Tampa Bay's best game of the year is on tape, and they're going to try to do what they did last time. They're not going to stray away from the success they had. Green Bay is going to be prepared for everything that Tampa Bay is going to throw at them, especially in the blitz part of it. I think the offensive line is playing such better football than it was at that point. It was in shambles, like I mentioned, after David Bakhtiari went out of that game. They had Rick Wagner move to the left, Bill Turner was at the right, and now they've switched it around. They're set as a group. They've been playing well these past few weeks without Bakhtiari, and I expect that to continue. Number 1, I think Corey Linsley and Elton Jenkins against 20 to 25 snaps for Vita Vea. I like that. I think that's a good matchup. I think we're going to be able to handle Vita Vea or whoever's in that nose tackle spot for the most of the game. And then the rest of those guys, Sue is a huge factor. And obviously those guys on the edge, Shaq Barrett is obviously a good player, a bit of a down year, but still great. And then those guys in the middle are very good. Levante David, spectacular. So it's going to be about timing the blitz, quick throws, and they're gonna have a game plan really designed to get the ball out quick, run the ball against that blitz, take advantage of maybe some holes, and I think it's going to be a good day. I'm expecting Green Bay to win. And then Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, I just think, they're going to turn on the Jets here, and we'll see. I mean, I really expect them to come out and win. They've got the weapons. Their defense is better than Buffalo's, in my opinion. So I expect them to be able to stop, whatever semblance of a running game that the Bills have, and they'll be able to focus in on what they're trying to do in the passing game in Buffalo. So that's my thoughts.
All right. Yeah, I would tend to agree, Jack. If you want, your easy money, I guess, would be both Packers and Chiefs. You could do that in a parlay. You could do a teaser. If you, are a little sketched out about, say, the Packers being favored by 3.5 or the Chiefs being favored by 3.5, you can get that number down to they just have to win, 3-point parlay. Right. So I would roll. I kind of want to go Tampa, but I do think the Packers win, and I think that the Chiefs beat the Bills. So
I think Packers at 3.5 is a steal, if you ask me. I think that's a steal. Just don't be surprised when it happens today. That's all I'm saying.
All right. So got a question from Frankie. How much do you think the Mahomes concussion affects him?
I think I see the turf toe affecting him probably more than the concussion. It was weird because he never got hit in the head. Really, he just got woozy, almost like he passed out almost after getting kind of taken down. It was a weird situation. It depends. We'll see. I expect him to be that same player, but we'll see how much he's limited really moving out of the pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna jump back to Brady for a second. So put on your betting hat. Over under 285 passing yards.
That's over. 100% over. He'll be over that.
Okay, I agree with that. I think the way that I think the game's going to go, Green Bay takes an early lead, and Tampa's just going to say, Ronald Jones, you don't exist anymore. We're just going to throw a bunch, and
they're going to throw it around the yard.
When you have weapons like Godwin, even Evans, I get Jair's going to be there, but there's ways to get around Jair Alexander. Just move Evans around the field. You have Gronk, you have Brait, you have Fournette and Rojo as pass catchers, even though Ronald Jones has some of the worst hands I've ever seen on a football player. I think Brady's going to get his way to 300 yards, 315 yards. I wouldn't be surprised if he leads everyone today in passing yards because I think the weather is going to be a little bit of an issue for Bills Chiefs. I don't think Mahomes is going to have 450 yards and 5 touchdowns or whatever. I think Brady may be the sneaky bet to lead the day in passing yards.
I definitely agree. Green Bay is going to get an early lead, and I think they're going to force Tampa Bay to have to throw the ball a little bit more than they thought. I could see it, going down to the wire. Green Bay's got, 14-point lead in the fourth quarter, and Brady's throwing it all over the field, and that's what I expect. I expect them to get a lot of passing yards and a lot of different, I expect Brady to throw the ball close to 45 times today.
Yeah, I think that could definitely happen. So this is going to be a little bit of a draft question from Mike. What do you think is more important to target in the next year's draft? A pure number 2 wide receiver next to Adams or a cornerback number 2 next to Jair?
That's a tough question because, I guess Kevin King's not going to come back. And so for me, that's probably going to have to go with corner just because we really don't have anybody after Jair. And if Kevin's gone, it's going to be Josh Jackson, maybe Chandon Sullivan. I think we need to add somebody there. Maybe not even in the draft, maybe a free agent as well to get a veteran presence in there. But, they'll have Adams, they'll have Lazard and MVS. I think they'll all be back, and they're gonna have also Devin Funchess back in the fold too. I think he's going to be a key contributor next year. So I think they're probably more set at receiver than some people think. So I think corner is probably the spot that they would go.
So outside of wide receiver or corner, who would you want to target with your theoretical 32nd pick?
Yeah, definitely that number 32. I haven't dug into the draft too much yet, obviously, because we're in Super Bowl la-la land over here in Green Bay. But I definitely think they're going to have to look at somebody to help stop the run in the middle, whether that's, a defensive tackle early, or probably more likely somebody at that middle linebacker spot. I think that's probably definitely one of the top two spots they're going to have to target in the draft, as well as, like we just talked about a corner. I think they could also try to bring in maybe a tackle too, because Rick Wagner is getting older. Bill Turner is good, but his contract's big, and he's not a left tackle guy. I think they need somebody to put behind David Bakhtiari if he gets hurt. Bill Turner in the right side. I think they're going to definitely have to have some depth there, and I think a pick early wouldn't be surprising at that tackle spot either.
Yeah, I mean, as great as Bakhtiari is, injuries just happen at left tackle sometimes. Ronnie Stanley for the Ravens gets paid, then 15, 20 minutes into the next game, he's done for the year. And I think it was important to have Orlando Brown be versatile enough to come over and play left tackle, and right tackle. It's an issue the rest of the year for us.
Yep.
So we're going to go to another, not really question, I guess. So give me your pitch on why Aaron Jones will have a good game today.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because that's a great run defense. But number one, I think he's going to have to get the ball early in the passing game. And I could see that being how he really gets going, especially running the ball too. They're gonna give him the ball. He's going to get a lot of touches today, as well as those other guys too, like we talked about. I think he's going to be a key factor, and he'll probably see the ball maybe even more so than he has in recent weeks.
All right. So we're going to go to a question from Nick. How much longer do you see Rodgers being the Packers quarterback?
Probably until he hangs it up at this point. If he keeps playing at this level, nobody, he's not going anywhere. Adam Schefter talked about it yesterday. The thought process was brought up about him, at this rate, the way that he's playing, are they going to move on from him? And Adam Schefter said there's not even a question. He's going to be their quarterback until he starts playing, much worse than he is now. He's the best player in football this year. You don't move on from a guy like that. So there's not even a question for me right now. It's, as of now, it's until he hangs it up.
So were you excited about the Jordan Love pick, bummed out about it?
Yeah, not excited. I'll tell you that right off the bat. It wasn't an exciting thing because you talk about having a chance to build on a special season last year, getting 13 wins in Matt LaFleur's first year. But they took a chance on getting a guy to back up Aaron Rodgers who, if Rodgers gets hurt, they want to have somebody for the first time in a long time that wouldn't eliminate them from the season. They need somebody to back him up because otherwise, if Rodgers went down, season's over. And that's how it's been for so many years. So I think the thought process was, look, we were just 13-3 in our first year with this head coach. The second year stuff, the growth, the internal growth that happens just with the guys that have been in that locker room, they hoped, and so far it's been proven true, that growth in itself would improve the team overall and make them take that next step. And then they just saw that opportunity to get a guy they really, really liked at quarterback. And for now, he's going to be a backup. But I think the thought process was, let's get somebody so that if Aaron Rodgers does go down, the season's not lost. And I think it's looking like a smart pick right now. And in the future, if Rodgers continues to play and he wants to play for 6 years and he's playing at a high level, then they can flip a guy like Jordan Love for, whether it's a player to add or picks, so now he's a valuable asset. It's an asset at this point, and it looks like a good pick as of now.
I think that's one thing that the Eagles did really well in the early Wednesdays, that they always had a competent backup that, hey, they're not screwing themselves over with the backup being really, really bad. But at the same time, the backup has value for other franchises. So you may get a third-round pick out of your backup quarterback. And who gets a third-round pick out of your backup quarterback?
We saw them win a Super Bowl with their backup, and that's what the Packers want to be able to do. If Rodgers, knock on wood, got hurt in this game, they want to be able to say, okay, well, we're not just, we're not out of it yet. And they want to have that opportunity to still be able to win.
All right, let's move on to another question. This is from Kenny Shane. What's the X factor for the Packers to win today?
Aaron Jones is definitely that guy, but I also think Rodgers has to be able to get the ball out quickly to kind of stifle that pass rush. If we're able to get the ball out quick, I expect a better game, and I expect something that we'll see a lot today, which is short yardage, just moving the chains, and then the play action will help get those big plays that Green Bay loves so much involved.
Absolutely. So we're going to go another little quote from Kenny Shane. Love was the most motivating pick of all time. Agree or disagree?
Well, it depends who you're asking, but I think Rodgers, it didn't motivate him, but it helped him put things in perspective. I think it helped him kind of realize to maybe, stop and smell the roses a little bit more because, who knows how much longer he's going to be here, and it's out of his control in some ways. But, he just wants to enjoy his time with Green Bay, whether that's the rest of his career or whether that's, just a few more years, the rest of his contract, whatever. I think he wants to really take advantage of this time, especially when they're playing so well and he's playing so well. All of that, I think, helped him really just become the player that he is now, get back to what he was doing at that MVP level. I think that's why he's having so much success. So it's definitely part of it, but I wouldn't say he was truly motivated by it.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I remember where I was when I saw that Jordan Love got drafted to the Packers. I was a little shocked. I thought he was going to go to New Orleans or another team around there. But as soon as I saw that they traded up, it's like they're going after a quarterback. You don't trade up for other positions. Although I guess the Packers did trade up for Darnell Savage, and that's turned out really well this year.
Yeah.
But I mean, I liked the Jordan Love pick when it happened, and I have the receipts from U Stadium when I said that Jordan Love would be the most talented quarterback from this draft class. Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert they've shown up. So big shoes to fill there. But I think if Love were to get a chance, I think he would be very successful in whatever system, whether that's Green Bay or if they flip him for a pick. And, he's a first-round guy, and I don't think his value erodes, if say next year, he's probably worth a first-round pick or an early second,
Yeah, definitely. Number one, I think it's because he sat behind Aaron Rodgers now, and the teams will look at that and say, okay, this guy's gotten a year's worth of Aaron Rodgers in his brain, talking to him in his ear every week, every day. I think that's valuable too. That I wouldn't say it raises his value, but it definitely keeps it at that first round level.
Absolutely. So we're going to go to one more quick question, and this is a big hitter. Bigger Packer legend, Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers?
Well, that question's going to probably change in these next couple of weeks. I think it's still pretty clearly Rodgers, just because I think he's just the better player. But Brett Favre, he did so many great things for this team. I just think, something about Aaron Rodgers, who would have thought that after having a guy like Brett Favre, who's a top 10 quarterback all time, having a guy like him, and then, who would have thought that we'd find someone who's even more talented coming up right after him. And I just think Rodgers, he's so talented. You can't overstate how good he is as a player. He's even, as good as he is as a player, he's an even better person, even better guy as a leader for this team. And a lot of people won't tell you that in the media, but you watch him, you hear him talk, and you hear what his teammates say about him. They talk glowingly about his leadership skills. I would give Rodgers the edge just because of what he's done for this team, this city, the organization. He's just been so influential in Green Bay Packers football, and he is Green Bay Packers football. He embodies everything it means to be a Packer. All right, so I want to take a little tangent quick. I don't know if you've heard of John Boyes or watched his content on YouTube, but he did a video a couple years ago, an episode of Chart Party that he ranked the teams based on volatility. So based on their win-loss record on a year-to-year basis. So when he got to the Packers one, he said, there's this thing the Packers did. They drafted they got a Hall of Fame quarterback trade from Atlanta. They got a Hall of Fame quarterback, and they immediately followed up with a Hall of Fame quarterback. So you get 25 years of Hall of Fame quarterback play. It's hard to lose games when you have a Hall of Famer under center. Definitely.
So thank you, Alex.
Thanks for having me.
Show. I mean, the comments were raved about it. So good luck to your Packers today, and shout out to Tramon Williams, the first player in NFL history to play for two teams in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So there's that. So with that, give me your final score prediction today.
My score prediction is 34-24 Green Bay, and I'm telling you, I think Green Bay is going to score early and often, and it's going to be a win by a 10-point margin. That's my thoughts.
I think it's going to be a little bit closer. I don't want to count out Brady. I've done that before. It's gone horribly wrong.
Yeah.
I think the Packers are a fundamentally better football team, and I think Rodgers is better than Brady at this point in their careers, and I think the Packers win give me a last-second Mason Crosby field goal, 27-24. Packers go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, sounds good to me. I'll take it either way.
Yeah, of course. All right. Thank you guys for listening, joining us, asking questions. We'll be back this week with some bangers. Peace.
Thanks, everybody.